Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Rodrick Rules. By Jeff Kenny. Narrated by Ramon de Ocampo.
November. Monday. I was up at Rowley's playing board games yesterday, and the craziest thing happened. When Rowley was in the bathroom, I noticed that there was some play money sticking out of the box of one of the other games. I couldn't believe my eyes, because the play money inside that game was the exact same kind of money Mom uses for Mom Bucks. When I counted it up, there was something like $100,000 in cash in that box. It only took me about 2 seconds to figure out what to do next. When I got home, I ran upstairs and stuffed the money under my mattress. I tossed and turned all night trying to figure out what to do with my new Mom Bucks. I realized Mom would probably have some way of knowing the difference between phony Mom Bucks and the real thing. So this morning, I decided to try a little experiment. I asked Mom if I could cash in some Mom Bucks so I could buy stamps to write my pen pal. I was really nervous when I handed Mom the money. But she took it without even blinking. I can't believe my luck! I figure I can make this $100,000 last all the way through high school, and maybe even farther. I might not even have to get a real job later on. The trick will be not to cash in too much at one time, or Mom will know something's up. And I have to remember to earn a few Mom Bucks for real here and there so she doesn't get too suspicious. I will say one thing for sure, though, and it's that I won't be using the money Mom gave me to buy stamps. I got a picture from my pen pal, Mamadou, in the mail yesterday, and that pretty much killed any chance of me writing him back. And he calls himself super cool. November. Tuesday. My big history paper is due tomorrow, but they've been saying all week that it's going to snow about a foot tonight. So I haven't really been sweating it all that much. At around 10 o'clock, I peeked out the window to see how many inches of snow were on the ground so far. But I couldn't believe my eyes when I pulled back the curtain. Man, I was counting on school being canceled tomorrow. I turned on the news to see what happened, but the weather guy was telling a totally different story than he was 3 hours ago. That meant I had to get cracking on my history paper. The problem was, it was too late to go to the library, and we don't have any books in our house that are about the 1900s, so I knew I had to think of something quick. Then, I had a great idea. Dad has bailed Rodrick out 1,000,000 times on his school papers, so I figured he could help me, too. I told Dad about my situation, thinking he'd jump right in and help. But I guess Dad has learned his lesson in that department. He only said, "Good luck with that." Rodrick must have overheard me talking to Dad, because he told me I should follow him downstairs. You know how Rodrick had Mr. Huff, my history teacher in middle school? Well, it turns out Mr. Huff gave Rodrick's class the exact same assignment when he was in my grade. Rodrick dug around in his junk drawer and found his old paper, and then he told me he'd sell it to me for $5. I told him there was no way I'd do that. I'll admit, it was pretty tempting, because number one, since all of Rodrick's assignments have gone through Dad, I knew Rodrick got a good grade on his paper. And number two, it was in one of those clear plastic binders that teachers go crazy for. Plus, I had a huge stash of Mom Bucks under my mattress upstairs, and I knew I could pay Rodrick with that. But I couldn't do it. I mean, I've copied off of people's papers on quizzes and stuff before, but buying a paper off of someone would be taking it to a whole nother level. So I decided I was going to just have to suck it up and do the paper myself. I started doing some research on the computer, but at about midnight, the worst possible thing happened. The power went out. That's when I knew I was in some serious trouble. I knew I'd flunk history if I didn't turn in a paper. So even though I didn't want to, I decided to take Rodrick up on his offer. I scraped together $500 in mom bucks and went down to the basement. But Rodrick didn't let me off that easy. His fee had gone up. Rodrick told me his new price was $20,000 in mom bucks. I told him I didn't have it, so he just rolled over and went back to sleep. At that point, I was really desperate, so I went upstairs and grabbed a big handful of $1,000 bills and brought them down to Rodrick's room. I gave him the money, and he turned over the paper. I felt really bad about what I did, but I just tried not to think about it and went to sleep. November. Wednesday. On the bus ride to school, I took Rodrick's paper out of my bag. But I took one look at it and knew something was seriously wrong. First of all, the poem wasn't typed out. It was in Rodrick's own handwriting. That's when it hit me. Dad only started doing Rodrick's papers for him once he got to high school. So that meant this paper was Rodrick's own work. I started reading Rodrick's paper to see if I could still use it. But apparently, Rodrick was even worse about doing his research than me. 100 Years Ago by Rodrick Heffley. Sometimes I sit and wonder about stuff I don't know. Like what the heck the Earth was like 100 years ago. Did cavemen ride on dinosaurs? Did flowers even grow? Well, we could guess, but that was back 100 years ago. I wish they built a time machine, and they picked me to go, to check out what the scene was like 100 years ago. Did giant spiders rule the earth? Were deserts filled with snow? I wonder what the story was 100 years ago. At the bottom, the teacher wrote, F. See me. I guess I learned my lesson about buying a paper off someone. Or at least off of Rodrick. When third period rolled around, I didn't have anything to turn in to Mr. Huff. I guess that means I'll be taking summer school for history. And my day got a whole lot worse after that. When I got home from school, Mom was waiting for me at the front door. You know that stack of bills I paid Rodrick with? Well, he tried to cash them all in at once to get money for a used motorcycle. I'm sure Mom knew something was fishy, since Rodrick has never earned a single mom buck on his own. Rodrick told Mom where he got the money, and she dug around my room until she found my stash under the mattress. Mom knew she never put $100,000 into circulation, so she confiscated all my cash, even the ones I earned for real. I guess that's the end of the Mom Bucks program. To be honest with you, I'm kind of relieved. Sleeping on that pile of cash every night was really stressing me out. Mom was mad that I tried to put one over on her like that, so she gave me a punishment. But I got that out of the way before dinner, by making Rowley help me clean out the garage. November. Thursday. Today was Thanksgiving, and it started off like it always does, with Aunt Loretta showing up 2 hours early. Mom always makes me and Rodrick entertain Aunt Loretta, and that means talk to her until the rest of the family shows up. The biggest fights me and Rodrick have ever had were over who has to greet her first. The rest of the family started trickling in around 11 o'clock. Dad's brother, Uncle Joe, and his kids were the last ones to show up around 12:30. Uncle Joe's kids all called Dad the same thing: Aunt Frank. Mom thinks it's really cute, but Dad swears that Uncle Joe tells his kids to do it on purpose. Things are pretty tense between Dad and Uncle Joe, because Dad is still mad at Uncle Joe for something he did last Thanksgiving. Back then, Manny had just started potty training, and he was doing pretty good. In fact, he was probably about 2 weeks from being out of diapers. But Uncle Joe said something to Manny that changed everything. "Better look out for the potty monster, little fella." It was 6 months before Manny would even step foot in the bathroom again. Every time Dad changed a dirty diaper after that, I heard him cursing Uncle Joe under his breath. We had dinner around 2 o'clock, and then people went into the living room to talk. I didn't feel like talking, so I went in the family room to play video games. Eventually, I guess Dad had enough of the family too, so he went downstairs to work on his Civil War battlefield. But he forgot to lock the door to the furnace room, and Uncle Joe walked in after him. Uncle Joe seemed pretty interested in what Dad was working on, so Dad told him all about it. Dad gave Uncle Joe this big speech about the 150th Regiment and the role it played at Gettysburg, and spent about a half hour describing the whole battle. But I don't think Uncle Joe was really listening to Dad's speech. He sort of insulted Dad by saying, "Nice toys, big brother." Thanksgiving didn't last too much longer after that. Dad went upstairs and turned up the thermostat until it got stuffy and everyone cleared out. And that's pretty much how Thanksgiving ends every year at our house.